around my birthday, I always think of all family and people, even far away, are all deep place inside my heart. It's a day that because I'm such a traveller or sojourner, you have family around the world where I do, blood family and people and stuff, and so yeah, it's a day to have great, uh, appreciation. In fact, for everybody. And to you, sir, yeah. Mm. Everything is
That's
sort of a bit about eye
incredible.
awareness. Yeah. Um, it's amazing. Everything is about eye awareness, where someone is in tracking excellence, of course, Um, but to really be a good model, what you are, where people are that's listening, one is the subject themselves, and that you're always giving from your personal experience and what's objective, um, and just everything sort of really assists you or I, where people are. Because it's great that you can really be understanding a bit more of the inductive process or inductive technique, which is just yours or my capacity to be in receptive, being very receptive. In receptivity, um, omnipresence is meaning that sort of everywhere. It's sort of not just in or out, but everywhere. Omnipresent means everywhere. Um, and I is everywhere in the small. Omnipresence is sort of really a great way to describe this, because it's sort of really indescribable in the manner of being, except by saying it's sort of present everywhere. um, but it's everything that's really in warmth and blood. Interesting that you could look at text and see if is exists in the text. Lots of people's writing you can't hear is, and what is, it's interesting because when you look at what is, you can see a lot of random variables, all uncaused and just random, and suddenly something non-random appears from that, you know, and it's really functional, and a neuroplasticity which you and I have, everyone, is really a great capacity to be able to have good pattern recognition and how you are as a teacher, where you are in the field, and working where people are, to have a proper perception. And so we can understand, where someone's in the river and flowing, they're not on the bank of pleasure or fear, and they're sort of really in the river or flowing. And the JC contours existed there that's good to assist someone to help pick out a pattern. And suddenly, you know, um, it becomes apparent, where from the background of things. Um, but what's not random otherwise is just really variables where anything is, um, and you've got eternal space where things are, and you've got elements which couple, meaning link to things, and things which break things down, um, and this I really is simple omnipresence, and that the body of care or matter really is sort of what you and I we're observing more, and can further really, it is to it more or less you and I controlling our own inner dialogue where something is, and what attention does it come to someone in themselves, where the work is reading the work, whatever, that is about having no inner dialogue, as we've talked about, where someone's playing out of their brain. There's lots of expressions, but where someone's in the sweet spot, there's that's just where you've got great capacity to be able to sense where a ball is in the trajectory of something, which is spatial, and that's not something sequentially motor move per se, like speech is, and it's a different component of our brain. And so somebody's really learning how to use how the brain in a good way. That's what whole brain functioning really is, and it really means whole brain functioning really means that someone could be using more the whole of the brain in the patterning of the vision does, or it could be coming from something which could be, as you add it or add something in, you've got something more indelible, and you've got something embellished far more, in the things that you're doing. Yeah, really controlling one's inner dialogue, that's kind of the really skill, isn't it? And it's really a lack of where anything was now ceased more, where need was, and having been neediness or obsessed and everything, that really could have been an internal dialogue that would have been going on and having occupied someone. And, to recognise that where that goes on or has, and label it, and you notice that it sort of drops away because you're really only focusing on what's beneficial, really. Being in timelessness, more in play and leisure and recreatedness. It's really more where a stillness, silence and transparency really is, which is I, and this is the void which is now. And how do you know that this? You can't, because it's in the present now, and it's sort of unwrapped, you see. So it's not thinking, you see. It's really being without any thinking, basically. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
Yeah. Instructions that kind of given one, they could hear. How important is it that actually someone can clear away their own inner dialogue? Of course, when you're eating or consuming something, it should be just totally available to be able to taste what is consumed and to slow down and to get the benefit beingness of all. Truly incredible, wonderful. And it's sort of being in an unknowing. It's just like because you're exploring and sensing the flavour where something is. That's a good example. And that couldn't be if somebody was thinking something else. So it's just impossible. You could check it out and see it. So those things don't fit together, really. So one thing at a time really does work. And pleasure as its functional and interest, neurologically inhibiting the aversive centres of the brain, because you can't have these two things together. As somebody's in interest and pleasure, they're really more integrated. And how you're showing up with what you do, you show up far more associated. And this is really the mastery more of awareness versus anybody having been under a dead entity, which could have been just some thought equivalent to it. And not being really an external self, but like a chatter. And Cloud and the Toltecs called any kind of feeling that was going on which wasn't really proper, they would call it, all of it, chatter. And so it wasn't just, speech per se, but how like somebody's shoulders are, how like the tummy is in life. Let's see how orderliness more or less is of the process of the things that's gone on through the day and things like this, and how steady and ongoing, and how parallel processedness is really sort of part of being associated, of course, because it's really you being more congruent with anybody else, you see, and parallel processing. And integration is sort of a union of all of those parts. And association is very simple because it's really just what you're moving toward as a direction for anybody else, I think so. And what's coming within you. And bliss really is entered, it sort of really can be flooding into spaces which really needs to, of course. And it's unchanging where it is in a moment of time, because this is really an outward lived meditation that someone's learning. Ongoing, to chipping away at things, and eventually someone comes to this sort of very, but it's someone chips away, you're some more blissfulness because you realise, wow, I've achieved things. So a neural efficiency really is where somebody's receptive, of course, and where anybody would have been occupied, they would have been probably a bit out of balance. And balance, that's a very good word. Balance. And then when you can see somebody in balance, there's two ways, Toltecs taught people, of course, sitting, sleeping, walking, living, wakefulness, dreaming. Somebody could really have a 50-50 balance between how's your orientation in life. 50-50 balance, you see, internal, external. Now somebody's in balance, good. And that was one part of you. And the other part was really where you're getting information from, and who's this to, and where'd you come from, and what the purpose of it is. Yeah. In the subject and the verb of it. And someone sort of, because of this sort of 50-50 relation of internal and external, you've really got this good balance. And information really is sort of coming in that's really beautifully sort of directed more. But so this manages your DNA. It reduces cortisol being reduced, brings someone's calcium levels down, relaxes the heart, and could cause someone to survive where injury is and things just like that, and heal the body. And one of the things that I studied, like in 1978, I saw that the cells ordinarily sort of, when I knew, they don't really have any of these proteins which fold and unfold. And they're very unique because they were proteins which I was interested to learn a bit more about, and I saw that they were very sensitive to temperature change, and they actually activated temperature change in the body. And I saw, a whole range of these, which started to be called more, cold shock protein and heat shock protein, which you could find a lot in the roots of various plants, which really don't really need light to grow. But grow off life colloid more in the soil in the dark. And some bushes really have got a lot of parts per million of things which really help induce cellular structure, to be far more in its environmental fitness.
Wow.
And so I saw the benefit of an absolute effect of epigenetics. What does that mean? Above your genes. And how these, talking about small secrets of the formula itself, because I wanted to put something together which exactly mimic nature so that you bring this in as a template and it causes this to be produced in your body again. So it's really an actual true healant. It's not something taking all the time, but actually, provides a template for the body to continue to produce various things like it should or would ordinarily. And these molecules that we're talking about that decouple and uncouple. So where inflammation is, you've really got a lot of coupling going on, and you need to have substance which can decouple that away. And only certain shock proteins, like cold shock protein, could do that. And then on the other term, you really need to actually build defenses. And so that's really molecules which cause enfoldment. And these molecules that do that, which that's what's in these formulas, it's a radical, because I saw that on the periodic chart, you've got a range of elements which are absolutely radical. They're called the transitional elements, the periodic chart. And they have a structure which is absolutely radical. They've got a very, very wide end on one side, like huge, and condensed on the other side. And so with that structure, they really are very, very unique. And quorum sensing is occurring more in the body, and molecules all flow, and the body works together more as it can, and even to be recovered where very serious sorts of injuries are and that sort of thing. If somebody stopped the allergen, and it could be a very small amount of stuff that people are eating, but on live food, gut cell rejuvenation, you've really stopped all the non-ecological particles and everything, and you're really insisting in enhancing your body to really be able to cleanse and heal. And these heat shock proteins and cold shock proteins are molecules like chaperone, which come to be induced into the cellular structure, which wouldn't be there, but only come about because of this environmental fitness that goes on. And so where somebody sort of, do jumping jacks and they're actually getting their heart rate up and what have you, the environmental temperature effects of exercise and things like that, and then also cooling down and temperature changes is absolutely a fitness that you could have to have a greater magnetic threshold. And so, these are things which formula, and process that you do could be followed, and it's really a true healing therapeutic. So you've got these cold shock proteins and heat shock proteins, are both really, really important in folding, like we're talking about, translocation of protein. And it really causes everything to be really sped up or slowed down, and the disassembly of protein complexes. And what really anybody could be expecting is temperature and the expressiveness of a fitness that we're light, like we were talking about, that activates these elements like this nitrogenated terpinated compound that's in our formulas, which provides somebody with a lot of positive, south positive and north negative magneton charge coming from the ether and activated by blue light. And so, far infrared spectrum sort of conjugates that color, blocking it, and allowing blue to come straight through. So it activates, the blue light activates these nitrogenated terpinated compounds you make function in the body for even 3 months afterward, and then shrinking and clearing away tumours and neoplastic sort of conditions and things. And these are things which you're supposed to have in your blood, you see. These blood-borne inhibitors. You're supposed to have a certain amount of diastactic toxin, heavy metal, and cyanhydric acid in natural amount, which is found in these formulas and things, which blocks and stops the expression of the double spore, turning into a dysbiotic life colloid, you see. Once somebody has this, like you've got Dermadex on your skin, for instance, it goes straight through your mouth. It goes straight into your blood, and Life Hydrate too, in the water. And you can find, with a bit of tape, no more Dermadex on the tape. Even just in a short moment, you'll only find dead Dermadex. You look under the microscope. So it's broadcast its effect, and it's absolutely dissolving foreign protein, which can't exist in the body. So it's sort of more scientific, really. But you've got all these proteins that come about because of fitness and doing hot, cold. And you're looking at that on a level of herbs as well, you see, but not just herb formula, which is 6th generation that's going to be absorbed straight across your tongue or through the skin. And those all work because it activates the far infrared spectrum, which maximizes radiation for cells to be recovering and building energy, and clothing that people buy and what they wear, and the environment that you're in. Of course, environmental saunas, that's sort of really giving you an idea, isn't it? I mean, that's what we're talking about. Only we're thinking about that as a program somebody's doing, you see.
Okay.
So you're accelerating when you do jumping jacks, you're sweating. And then where most people ask them, when was the last time they broke into a trot somewhere,
Oh boy.
Exactly. but you got to put it together, don't you? You know what I mean? The whole thing, why not? Quiet internal dialogue down, and then go for all this, which accelerates somebody's defences and capacity to be able to clear up neoplasm and to clear away things. But one has to consume more a live food diet, which really is low phosphate, low methionine. One has to really learn about that, because those are things which is really often an allergen. And when you do sweat, you do exercise and you get your heart rate up, and you've got to get it up past 100 training and stuff. You're raising your body temperature above 100 degrees, to 105 degrees. And you've got these heat shock proteins, a whole range of them, like 90, 70, and 60 and 100, different sorts of studied that penetrate and come into the cell and cause it to grow, cause muscle growth. You see a lot of people actually, and they're not exercising a certain part of their body. And what goes on when you don't exercise something? You lose it. You use it, good. Otherwise, something else goes on there. So attracting amino acid to the muscle, can you do that when you exercise? Yes, you do. Because you're raising your temperature from 98.6 degrees, which it should be. And so as it comes above 100 or more and up to 100.4 to 105.8, sort of within that sort of range Fahrenheit, you're really getting into a critical range of cellular function where your life cortisol terrain is really in a really great capacity to be able to detox, and you're getting pain relief, you see. When you lymphocyze, it reduces pain. And so you're reducing tension, and you're reducing blood pressure, and it's really a beautiful normalization that's coming about where someone's able to manage inflammation. And this is some of the work that's behind Life Hydrate and 4NR and Blue Manna, which those are things which could help. So Blue Manna's got enzymes that can help break graphene down, and same with Life Colloid does. And so you're spurring mitochondria by bringing in amino acid loaded on silica and giving the body's mitochondria a template to be able to produce adenosine triphosphate for energy. And so the skin, could be more vitalized, of course, because you've got micronized material, and you've got keratin, elastin, and collagen, which all tighten more up on the skin. Somebody can feel better. And what's the better thing, really? These cold shock and heat shock protein, which you can find in plant and things, which is the reason why these plants really survive in the absolute extreme, and have survival capacity, to be, in drought sorts of conditions and things. But the temperature differential, like we're talking about, hardly anybody's ever thought about these things, but that's absolutely sort of what's going on a micro level. And most people are not really necessarily physiologists, so how will they know what's really going on and how temperature's involved in the synthesis of everything? You see? Yeah? And how far infrared and red light, where you use that, and what's the effect of that, like blocking red light and actually letting the blue in, and so you're dissolving in the pressure that's inside cellular membranes. You've got these unfolding cellular proteins, which is just so important. And as I said, it's not found in a normal cell. It's only really found because you are environmentally bringing them in by what you do and what you've consumed. In a time gone by, you would have really had all those things, you know what I mean? But most people are not really getting any of that too much in a modern diet. Go ahead and have a little bit of a look where we got these things from. They are some of the best sort of substantial places on the earth to get them, you see. Cold processed, enzymatically active. And so you've got plant growth and flowering. You could see it in your head, honest. I mean, but what would happen if you all of a sudden just didn't have a part of the spectrum, like a far infrared? You see, everything just dissipate, pass away, matter of fact, end up as ultraviolet light, you see? So getting that back and causing it more, you've got a cold shock and heat shock protein, which really cause drought resistance like we were talking about, and really is where element is in a formula to help block and stop spike protein and clear those things up in the body. It's a real true healing therapeutic, more worth considering, because somebody's actually adding things in where they are that's really involving a bit of a sauna internally, what's Jub cell rejuvenation is doing, and giving you element to keep water in your body and hydrate your cells as you do this. But it's a really rapid shifting more a little bit when you're doing these substances, and it's sort of like what releases sort of these Y-box proteins, which really are DNA binding proteins when they're cold shock protein. And coming back to brown fat, you're stimulating that when you're a little bit have got some cold, it's abrasive for a certain periods of times and stuff. And that releasing more brown fat cells. And this is really an RNA chaperone that helps clear things away and break things down, and is very important in clearing up vascular disease and this sort of a thing. But anyway, it's really quite a bit, isn't it? I think that really controlling one's inner dialogue, though, coming back full circle more there, somebody is minding the gut, they're gutting the mind. And most dialogue is often stimulated, but you didn't really know that because also the feelings are less necessarily pleasant or empty, as can be more, in our tummy and how we're feeling about things. And so if one really is coming more from neural efficiency, they're breathing through your nose, and where did you hear that before? I mean, this is a really good program people could hear, and now they're getting the whole thing, because you shouldn't be breathing through your nose all through sleep and actually really being more straight where you sleep and stuff, and managing actually how you're sitting and being more with a bit of an arch in your back versus, hunched forward. What's going to happen with that? Widow's peak, boop, 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 boop. That's what happens. But if balance is where sleeping is, where sitting is, where walking is, where wakefulness is, where dreaming is, you've got this 50-50 balance, internal, external, and you've got this tensor force which is in balance. And this is you who is real versus all that thinking, which is really a bit of a dead entity and fictional and not real whatsoever. But something about you and I really is eternal to all, and everything really is on the record more, where things are here, where people could hear clearly, what sound, to have this transparency, which is a balance, which is the structure and orientation more in an internal and external, having a happy face or a condition that you have inside the nervous system. It's really such, which is a 50-50 balance of somebody really showing up integrated, congruent, and associated more in life. And we could learn about these three things being, congruent, integrated, and associated. And practicing these things, but getting rid of internal dialogue, and finally getting rid of all of it, so it's no longer there. And suddenly, things just come to you very crystal clear, and you're talking to people which are listening and paying attention to instruction, which really can be carried out afterwards, like sort of asking yourself how relaxed your shoulders are. And having sticky factor for really these things, which is really working, remembering, and I've just given you some ideas which really are incredible, of course. But where anybody forgot anything, it's often a memory to forget, isn't it? And so an actual memorization really is, which is hardwired, it comes to be implicit and not explicit. It comes about because it's just like flowing from you see? And you're modeling this because that's just like a computer, but more than that, it really is a living being in front of you, which can have way more variables than the computer or the world could ever come up with. And out of a random background, suddenly, from that randomness, things that's non-random as order is appearing, and if it's heard in its totality, of course, it's really like a transparency of omnipresence coming back full circle to talking about, everywhere, which is this I, actually, that everything comes out of, So unknowing is really not thinking, that's all. Doesn't mean you don't know. It's just like being an unknowing. It means not thinking, and not having to think, you see, and not having to have a lot of stuff that goes inside. And when nothing has gone on inside, is it receptive to the outside world? Yes. And it's the only way, in fact, actually, that happens, basically. All right? Anyway, a small show we've done, isn't it? I think it's a good one because it really talks about brown fat cells. We talked about how that generates deep tissue fat more, where, you've got abrasive, hot and cold a little bit. And you're raising your strong furnace that you have that's really deliberate cold and hot stimulant and movement and things and such that cause things for you to go beyond your rested metabolism, and to actually have developed a bit of a fitness that would be above and beyond what would regularly be required. And that's very useful as regular fitness, because you've really got a slight discomfort, and the cause such really causes these coupling and decoupling proteins to be available in your body versus like sedentary people not getting anything much. A product things and such, and program the people on can help stimulate these things. It's enough just for us to talk just a tiny little bit today just about these decoupling and coupling protein in Jubb cell rejuvenation product, and what various things that someone can do to bring in therapeutics like sauna and things. So it's really an ending up having to move and having plenty more neurotransmitters to run things like your brain and everything. And so your brain is functioning more like a younger brain. You've got beautiful epigenetic forces inside, yes, to manage everything gorgeously. You've got protein sort of faithfully being produced as a result of these temperature gradient and a smoothness existing, because you're really got your shoulders really nice and relaxed, and you're really more in an upright condition, or what wakeful more, and alert. And so you give someone a mark, more or less, for showing up, or where are they, on the board, and allowing you or I more to be in a state where you could know quite a few things could be more modulated, where less stress is, and you've got stress modulation. And so all functions really in your cell, and finding like water finding its own level within yourself. You could just have listened to this like a cooking show more in the background, and actually it's assisting your intestine produce the proper neurotransmitters like your Brunner gland and Hadarian gland, which is of course around your eyes, that one. And these all assist with the mesentery organs, which is just above your tummy, below your ribcage there, and all these organs. And so necessary life colloid, which really is produced because you optimize your organ function, is really a response to temperature differential, and the very things that you did, like what we've talked about here in the show, that's epigenetic, mean above gene and things, controlling the gene from the external forces that's causing various protein to become expressed more inside the cell, giving a cell more capacity to be able to manage things and protect itself. Otherwise, we've got a lot of toxin, and a lot of this toxin knocks out that 1p36 gene, which causes tumor suppression if ordinary. And if it's knocked out, then you've got these runaway turbos that's going on where the world is a bit. And the VMAT2 gene, people could have heard us talk about that. That's a God gene that really is very important actually to be able to produce neurotransmitters. And if that was shut down, not working properly by toxin, so these are the sort of things which are epigenetic and actually impacting the way genes are supposed to produce protein faithfully. And what happens when you can help protect yourself and clear that up? And can you help correct aberrant DNA? That's what this work is really about, you see. So our fitness really is existing, and it's really like a glow, like a halo that's surrounding your red blood corpuscle. And as it's really got its great protection, you see, it's got these rhodium, osmium, and ruthenium. It's really got external, more environmental factors that's actually altering the way the blood is functioning and existing, really. So it's more discreet and flowing, and you're getting a lot more, cell respiration and stuff like that. So, I think that's a small show. If that's okay, Lukey boy. Yeah.
Reminds me of when we used to go to the bathhouse in the plaza.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Yeah, all adding things in. You could add like enzymatic things, and really like calorie restriction relative, and yet mineralization and things. And you can really help improve cleansing 600%, but you can live a longer life by, looking at things maybe in another way. It's just like knowing that dark is 10,000 times faster than light, and light is a slow version of dark. And it's so down that you could see it, and it becomes light, you see. So it's the opposite of what people have ever thought. But most would ever know, of course, light comes out of dark. Dark does not come out of light. Yes?
Wow, never heard that before.
Yeah. Yes, sir. All right, mate. Well, when give us a text when you've got a moment, and we'll do another show, mate. Yeah. I'm really excited because we've got people all over tuning in a little more. Some of these subjects, like what we covered today, I think this is a really good show. But it really is about like cleansing your DNA and RNA. How does far infrared radiation impact this? Because these heat and cold shock proteins really do the decoupling and uncoupling sort of things of the cells that we've been talking about here to help normalize cell pressure and everything.
There's a couple of things that you mentioned that kind of in the public or in they talk about it on social media and stuff. And one of them, just wondering what you would think of it, is red light therapy. They have these mats that people are promoting. You stand in front of it, or you put it on your body. Is that kind of what you?
Yes, that's right. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. It actually causes water to be absorbed of energy. And there's only so much you can do with that. That can also make you go blind, right? Do too much of it. Yes? Yeah, so, but it's useful. Yes, because it creates more microcirculation. And it's an external force. Yet, you've got to do this right for your body. That's what this program does. But in particular, where somebody, is listening, they should really focus on having something that they're doing on a regular basis. Actually bringing these heat and cold shock protein in, that's what these elements are medicinal and having such an incredible impact, changing people's ability to have proper adaptogen and adaptogenic function to ward and keep disease at bay. Yeah. And so all of it's the same, matter of fact. So when you give your body a spa internal, that's what you're doing. So every time you think about anything about that, it's probably a good thing. Yeah? Yes, it is.
I know that.
Right.
I could never add anything to what you say. It's
No,
just...
yes. And what happened when somebody gets flogged? But after they're flogged 70 times, will they ever bruise again? No. No, even 70-year-olds, they got flogged 70 times. Now, every time they were led away by the hand from the steam, in the steam room, but after some 70 times, their pussy could never fall over. No bruise would ever be. See?
Right.
Mm-hmm. So, it's really the smudging and these sorts of things with the brushes and all this sort of stuff. That's really an incredible, beautiful process, which the Toltecs excelled in. And, that the tradition goes all the way across the earth. Yeah. So anyway.
Amazing. Peptides? Get this thing.
Well, okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I figured just ask you. It's probably...
Okay, yeah. So, when somebody uses the word a tide of a pep, you see, you can't necessarily really use a tide of a pep, but you could say proteins exist and you're talking about specific amino acid. So many words that people use, isn't it? But it's really an amino acid sequence or something. See, is a peptide. So it's really a protein complex, and your almost ability to be able to put a certain protein complex together. So, for instance, human growth hormone is a very good example, isn't it? It's so huge, and okay, so that's one molecule. It's so huge. Oh my God! Wow. So let me give you another one, which is even bigger, and it's a long one. Let's see. See if you can spell it. It's called pro-opiomelanocortin.
Oh, sounds familiar.
Yeah, and so that's another molecule in the body. That's probably one of the longest words. I don't know, it's got 13 letters or something, pro-opiomelanocortin or something. But it's a huge word, and that is the mother molecule in the body. And so it's such a mother molecule because why? Because it's got 3 places in your body which it has to kind of join pieces of itself to make, you see, into that molecule. So this is the molecule you only have if you've got organ function proper. It's called pro-opiomelanocortin. some other molecule. But you could tell that somebody could survive or heal because you could just look at how much albumin a person has. And if they reduce all the inflammation in their body, what's going to happen with albumin? It's going to be raised. So you're going to have a longer life. You raise albumin, you're going to have a longer life. Yeah. And that's true cell rejuvenation. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, a lot of people, they might not know, of course, that your lungs are the primary organ of digestion and detoxification. And all protein, what is protein is except water and a gas, and all you're going to do is to breathe off the carbon, and what's left is just water, and that's it, finished. And your lungs are the primary organ of detoxification, you see. So most people really don't know what the organs perform. I mean, I know a lot of people that just say, what does the kidneys do? Because, you're teaching people about urine therapy, which is very helpful. Most people are unaware what the kidney's role is. They think that that's a detoxification organ, which it isn't, you see. So these things are really very misguided, honest. Also, too, where blood is formed, you could read about that, and this is fact. This is not based on a theory, like Sabin, Cunningham, and Doan in 1925 did their little study on bone, which was ridiculous. And how comes people don't know that dark is faster than light? Okay. So we've got the smallest particulate in as a pixelated dot. We call it JC quanta, and things are conducted. It's instant. See, doesn't it take time to travel somewhere? No, it's conducted. It's instant. You see, so these are different concepts that people should learn about more. But non-Euclidean math is real because you can make, a leaf. You could make a butterfly with non-Euclidean math. You can make a vertebrae, but you can't do that except if you use involuted math. Why? Because involution means curves inward, curves inward. Now, can you make life when you've got curves inward? Yes, you can. Can you make life if you've got curves outward, curves outward? No, you can't. So you have involuted structure that causes life, and death is evoluted. Can't have life. And so did most people that know, do they know that blood is formed not in your long bone? Why don't they read about that? You see? It's a brand new insight into life. Now, I use the word life. I use the word life. Biology, that's Greek. Okay, good. But life is really English. And that word life is, I'll bring the word life into things like life colloid, colloid of life, you see. Colloid of life is the smallest building block of life, and that aggregates into a spore and becomes a life colloid. And that spore joins with another spore, becomes a double spore as a life colloid, and those 1,500 of them fit together, and that forms across shoulder to shoulder a red blood corpuscle, which, if it becomes extravated, meaning outside the red blood vessels, sticks to an endothelial cell, meaning a cell that lining a passageway. It does so because it's magnetically stuck there, because it needs to. And so watch it. It could slowly transmutate itself into an immune cell where there's DNA in it now. See? It's polypotent. It can turn into every single thing in tissue at the site of the injury instant and help repair. Organize itself straight away. Because blood is useful. It turns into everything that's needed. And that's what I've been teaching people in colloidal biology, secrets of an alkaline body, job cell rejuvenation and things, Yeah. Anyway, I think we should have a show at some point, we could talk a bit more about how does consciousness itself, what is this, and what is this as a force itself? Yes? Interesting. No? Yeah, anyway. All right, mate. Well, I love you, mate. Huh? Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, sure.
I got these influencers. I feel like maybe if I could connect with somebody, it'd be good publicity for the team. Anyway, she just revealed that she has Hashimoto's. I thought maybe
Yeah,
I could.
so, yeah, Hashimoto. So, you know, Hashimoto's really sort of because histamine, you've got histidaldic and histopenic. One is really very salivated out and the other is very dry. And both these conditions are to do with sort of this condition like your Hashimoto's. It really is to do more with the thyroid and it's biofeedback and things that's concerned. And now silica is the primary substance that helps the thyroid function. That's a life colloid transmutated into iodine. And the tissue in the thyroid, long before it ever could be compromised, it always has not kept proper silica and things that's like this. You clear away the stone in your pancreas. You stop all allergen, which you have to, for 42 days. You bring some urine in and you do some other things to help, which is this formula and things, and you can help turn a condition that's around like that straight away. And the eyes no longer will ever be dry again.
Wow.
Hmm?
So amazing,
Yeah.
David.
Anyway, if you've got someone that they would care to, I could truly give them a great hope. And I've worked with plenty of people since 1978, honest. Yes, I've seen a lot. That's something which is like, see somebody could have really good success with, understand what to do. Yeah? Yeah, so it's not just a wham bam, thank you, ma'am, sort of thing.
I really
Yeah.
appreciate your time.
Yeah. Anything else, mate?
Uh, you probably don't want to get into anything political. There's this guy I was talking to today about one of the presidential candidates. He's reminded me of you because he started his own party in
Mm-hmm.
California called We the People.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
he's got this thing. Just reminded me before when you said about the template, because
Yeah.
I'm connected with a bunch of people. That's why I brought up the peptides. People are talking about peptides and hormone replacement therapy. And this guy,
Yeah, that's right. That's what this is.
yeah,
Yeah.
because he said it was a bioidentical, something called
Yes,
bioidentical, and then
exactly.
it
Yeah, it's
lasts
like
for
our
like.
our our formula is bioidentical. It's aldosterone. It comes from Africanized birds and pollen. Pine pollen. It's radical. You see, biological identical. It's like things that's actually like dopamine, serotonin, acetylcholine, vitamin C. These things got to be identical with nature, and most of them are called analogs. See, yeah.
uh,
Yeah, so what's in those packets? Those words, like people are saying, there's peptides, there's various things. But about the political candidate, go ahead.
Oh yeah, that's about it. I mean, it's just
Oh,
because
okay.
he was
So
doing push-ups on the video and he looked really
nice one.
muscular and they said
Yeah.
he does this and it's something that you
Mm.
do once and then the effects last for a long time. That's what it reminded me of what you were saying with
Yeah,
the
that's,
template.
yeah, that's right. Um, where we are, of course, most of us would know that the world, there's a difference between the freedom that you have, where you've got your rights, and a system which is a bridged right. And what went on for someone to abridge their right was for them to less than have a proper status as being a national. And a national means just your nation, means the soil or your ancestry, and linking you to be what all laws are that would relate to the land versus, well, that's kind of not how you're looked at sort of something which is a corporation that's been owned. So somebody in the country has been taken over and they've given their name into a corpse, and now their name, their ID is all buried inside a corporation, and that's dead. And so now after that, no one inside there has any rights inside that private corporation, you see. So that's sort of really an example of communism. Nobody has a voice where that is or nothing, and everybody has to be dead to participate in the system of itself. And at this moment, we've got a political system which is democratic, and the democratic is sort of really taken away from what the republic is, and it's not even really a constitutional form of government, but sort of really ruled by law, which is really just a commercial law. And so where everybody's only just become commercial law, that's not the proper laws to manage people, certainly not. You're going to see all sorts of things going on where shipping is having to be protected and all sorts of stuff, but the only thing you can hear in a dialogue is stuff about the corporation. And now you know that's where that voice came from, you see. And that's the problem. Why? Because this voice would come from all the we the people, and that is from operation, which is the Administrative Council, where you're sitting like I am just right now, and you're at a ministerial visitation listening to the show, and that's how and always you would remain, and it's not a court. And so if you and I activating administrative councils like we should in Article 3 and Article 4 administrative procedures, I mean, that's so vital. Why? Because that's what's supposed to happen, and that hasn't happened. Who's been giving public policy instead? People far above. It's all only their corporate interests, which you can hear when anybody opens their mouth. That's all they're talking about. It's like, that's right. That's where they came from. And it's so foreign to you and I, which is our rights, you see. So it's glossing over that to be just about business instead. And how bad is that? That's wrong, you see. But you can see we the people, we can perform this role as a Ministry of Council, and this is the government. This is pre-authored, pre-authorised. And is it functioning at the moment? It's supposed to, but it's not. Because who's activating that? It would only come from we the people, because that's the only way that it can. It can't come from a corporation, you see. And so it's, you know, people learning a bit about this, yeah. So anyway, we could do some more shows, bits about it, things, and give me an idea a little bit of some things you love for us to talk a bit about, mate, and we can really get to the very bottom of anything. Yeah?
You're the best.
Yes, mate. Because a long time ago, you were in America in 1913, on 25th of December. If you have a look, there's no question about it. Everybody was under a fraud because there was what's called when you change the gallop of a horse, you're changing the gating of how something gets shown. And this is like a soaring horse technique. And in politics, you can't get bills passed through a soaring horse technique, which is not letting a bill go through its proper passage where opposition to something could exist and stuff, and a lot more goes on around the scene of 1913 on the 25th of December. And guess what? You know, you can imagine what's going on that day. There's no quorum. And so something is passed, no quorum, and that was the largest land money trust that took away a lot of our rights of ownership to property. So, you know, we've all got to go back to be pre that time, and now you've got property. After that, you know, you come to 1933, on 9th of March, and you see another bill passed, which that bill that gets passed is not passed with any proper quorum either. And so not even as a bill that was given to people, but a copy of it was just by the Speaker. And so that was a bill that took away all monies and substance from us and caused the corpse to be the primary, owner of debt. And then hides these laws in the tobacco and firearms section of the union, so nobody where can find any of it. Comes down to Public Law 7310, where you and I, where somebody has some remedy, it's a commercial remedy. So if rights were taken away from people to have proper commercial remedy, which the only remedy exists that's commercial, but that's not anything that anybody could have ever been taught to do. So is that a reason why 4.4% of the whole population of the earth really is in the United States, but 22% of all those people incarcerated exist in behind, jail? Of the population of incarcerated people in the world? You see, it makes money. You see, it's really evil of itself. But you can see that just by presumption and things that goes on in a lower base court, where that's not anything verified at all, it's just all a lot of stuff going on under a dead man statute. People should learn a bit more about that, honest, because the pocket judgments taking away their equity, and this is a thing that's going on. One has to learn a little bit more about this itself and actually, do things that can help protect people's rights where things are. And so this is you and I. We sit above the Legislative Assembly of the state of New York, for people listening around you, or Nevada, or California, or wherever it is, Victoria, Australia, or Queensland, and anywhere in the world. It's the same form of governance, you see. And so we should wake up as we the people. Circles should be built. We should be learning a bit more about this, and it's really important. Why? Because we need to help direct code policy, and we're not. You see, and to help create laws and things to help protect. And so as we can become more active, it's really what is going to really help save us, because it's more in our own being. Anyway, all right, mate. Love you, mate.
Thank you so much, David. Love you.
Love you, mate. Come back.
Okay, talk to you soon. Oh.